Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Chani Wilshansky, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time. Hello there, and welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. Today, we're diving into the parent engagement gear. So over the last couple weeks, I've introduced this new concept, or the 5 essential gears that it takes to build and sustain your school of excellence. So we have gone over the enrollment gear, the financial health gear, the staff culture gear, and today we're diving into the parent engagement gear. Now, here's the thing that might surprise some of you when it comes to parent engagement, because parent engagement is not just about getting families to show up to events or to read your newsletters. It's really about creating a family and a family engagement ecosystem where families genuinely are connected to your school and your community at every single level of their journey. So I was working with a director, we'll call her Sarah, and she was really getting frustrated because she sent a lot of regular updates. She hosted monthly events for her families, but she felt like everything still felt so disconnected. She kept hearing things like, "We don't know what's really happening in the classroom," or "We feel really out of the loop." And as I dug deeper with her, we discovered something that was really interesting. It wasn't that the families weren't getting information. They were. She was delivering information. It's just that they weren't feeling engaged in their child's journey. And that's what today's episode is all about. And that's why it's so crucial, because I'm really going to break down parent engagement, not just in the way that you think it needs to be, but I'm really going to break it down at every work level. So if this is the first episode you're listening to in the 5 gears, the first episode where I introduce the 5 gears, I explain the concept of the 4 levels of work. And the 4 levels of work are the 4 types of work that need to happen in every single gear. There's strategic level work, there's implementation level work, there's support level work, and classroom level work. And in today's episode, I'm really going to break down so you can understand how every part of work is connected to the parent engagement gear. So let's start with the strategic level. This is where owners and anyone who's sitting at the strategic level needs to focus their energy. And the thing that you need to understand is that strategic level work in parent engagement is not about responding individually to parent emails or handling daily communication. It's not that you can't do that, but it's not strategic work. Strategic family engagement is about, there's a couple things, but I'm going to share a few here with you. One is about developing your communication strategy. So again, your communication strategy is not just about sending newsletters or posting updates. It's about a comprehensive system that really ensures that every family feels connected to your school. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example from Amanda. Now, again, whenever I say names or whatever it is, like these are clients that we work with, and I change names and some identifying details. We do have client case studies that you can hear on the podcast as well. But when I share different stories inside of particular episodes, they're really just to help you get an idea of things that we're doing with our clients. So I'll tell you about Amanda's school. She's in Florida, and she was struggling with what I call communication chaos, where information goes out, but families don't really engage with it. And so she started to develop one of the systems that we teach in the parent engagement gear inside of our Leadership HQ program called connection channels. And connection channels are specific pathways for different types of communication. So we helped her create systems where weekly newsletters shared classroom learning. She did monthly owner coffee dates where she tackled, bigger topics. She created a 24-hour response time for any parent concern, and they started to track things. They started to track their newsletter open rates, their response times, how many families were actually engaging. And so what happened was within 60 days, their newsletter open rates went from 35% to 78% because families knew that every piece of communication had value. They weren't just getting information. Nobody needs more information in a world of overindulgence of information. Nobody needs more information. People want information that is valuable and connected to them. Which brings me to the second layer of strategic work in the parent engagement gear, which is inclusive engagement. So this is a system as part of our parent engagement gear. So we had an owner, we'll call her Michelle, and she had multiple centers in Texas. And she completely transformed her approach when she started to do the inclusive engagement. She realized that 30% of her families weren't engaging because of language barriers. They didn't just translate the materials. What they did when they did inclusive engagement is they created a complete multilingual communication system. Because if you think about it this way, by the time a family tells you, even if, and most families won't even say this, right, that we feel disconnected, you've missed dozens and dozens of opportunities to engage them. And that's why the strategic work in the parent engagement gear is about creating systems that ensure that every family has multiple ways to connect with your school. And this is where so many leaders get stuck, right? They send updates, they respond to concerns, but there's no strategy behind it. They communicate, but they don't track engagement. They translate materials, but only when they're asked. And if you're really doing family engagement at the level that you want to be doing it, it requires taking all these pieces and making them work together. That's strategic level work in the parent engagement gear. And there's a lot of other things as well. So let's go to the implementation level of parent engagement. This is where the strategy comes to life. The implementation level is really about the two-way engagement. It either flourishes or fall apart. So let me tell you about Jessica. She's a director that we work with, and she had a wake-up call when she really started to transform the way that the teachers were communicating with families. So her teachers were sending photos, they were sending updates with all the different apps that there is available right now, but families still kept communicating that they felt disconnected. And so when I started to work with Jessica, we discovered something fascinating. There really was only one-way communication going on in the app. So what she did is it's not enough to just say, we send photos. It's, are we creating conversation with the families? And so she started to implement learning stories within the app. So it wasn't just cute photos, but it was intentional documentation of the child's growth. So she would write things. She trained her staff on, watch how Sophie used mathematical thinking to create this tower. And so parents asked about her building strategy at home. And so that started to create this family school connection. So the thing to understand at the implementation level is that there's so many things that you can implement. There's so many ideas and tactics and tips and tricks and all of these things. And the challenge that so many leaders find when they're engaging, when they're trying to work on the parent engagement is they go straight to the implementation level. They go straight to the tactical level, which is, what's the idea? What cute thing are you doing? The problem is that when you're constantly just going straight to implementation level and there is no strategy that drives the implementation, you're going to constantly be jumping from thing to thing. You're going to tweak this, you're going to tweak that, and it's never really going to get traction. That is why the 4 levels of work are so critical. The strategic level, the implementation level, the support level, the classroom level. Every single one of these things are so critical to ensure that you really have a solid parent engagement strategy. And the implementation level is about implementing the strategy that was set at the strategic level. So a lot of schools get stuck in the implementation level because they're not necessarily tracking things, right? They notice that families aren't engaging, but they don't have a system for re-engagement. So they're communicating with their families, but they're not necessarily measuring the impact. So they don't really know, like, is this the thing we should work on? Is this the thing that we should work on? Like, what should we actually do? And then this takes us to the support level. And this gets overlooked a lot. The support level is where the family feedback, the engagement programming, this is where everything really starts to come to life, because it's not enough to just send out annual surveys. Like, the world is changing so quickly. You cannot send out a survey once a year or take the pulse check once a year. It's just not enough. It is literally just not enough. Marshall Goldsmith, he's a famous leadership thinker. He's written many, many books. And one of the things he said in an interview when they were asking him about change and leadership is he said, the pace of change that you are experiencing right now in this moment, whenever you're listening to this episode, is the slowest that it will ever be. It is the slowest that it will ever be. So what does that mean? It means that change is constantly happening, and it's happening faster and faster and faster. And so this isn't about anxiety inducing. This isn't about, my gosh, like everything's changing so quickly, so why bother creating a strategy? No, this is about understanding what are the systems at the implementation and support level that we have to put in place so we can take quicker feedback loops, so we can actually see what's going on and we actually keep our pulse on what is happening inside of our company. And that is why you need parent satisfaction surveys going out consistently. And inside of Leadership HQ, we have templates of parent satisfaction surveys that you can send out to your parents, to your families, so you can actually start to understand the engagement architecture of like, what's actually happening here. And one of the things that I did with the clients, we created a family connection menu, which was like different ways that families could engage based on their schedules, their interests. Like some families volunteer, others lead workshops, some people have plan events. Like there's a menu of different ways that you can get connected. And you might hear this and be like, oh, that's such a great idea. We should create a family connection menu. Okay, but that is at the support level already. Like there is so many other layers before you get to a family connection menu of understanding the strategy behind why you would do a family connection menu, which is something that happens at the support level. So where does family engagement, like the parent engagement, really come alive? At the classroom level. This is where you see the difference between schools with very basic parent communication and schools that have true family partnerships. So I'm going to tell you a story about classroom level engagement. I was working with 2 pre-K classrooms in the same school. One had 90% of families actively engaged. They were responding to messages. They came to classroom activities. They were advocating for programs. The other pre-K struggled to get even basic responses from families. Okay, this is the same school, same policies, same age group, right? 2 pre-Ks, completely different outcomes. Now, again, some people say things like, oh, it's just the families in that classroom or whatever. It was the system. Here's what classroom level family engagement looks like. One of the things that we teach inside of Leadership HQ is connection rituals. These are small daily practices as part of our parent partnership blueprint to build strong family partnerships. So Anna was one of the teachers in one of the pre-K rooms, and they created specific times each day when they would capture and share meaningful learning moments with families. Again, not just photos, but authentic documentation of the children's growth and learning. And they would connect it with the families, right? They would connect it with them. The other thing that one of the pre-K who had 90% family engagement is they had repeatable, consistent opportunities for families to engage. So the other room, every once in a while, they would try to do something, or it would be like when they have capacity or when they have time or whatever it is. But the other classroom consistently had blocked on their calendar time for family engagement, which is part of our parent partnership blueprint. And I created a parent partnership blueprint when I was a teacher working in New York City. And I wanted to engage with families. And I needed to think of a way of how was I going to develop relationships with all of these families while I was working full time and I was raising my own family. I had 3 of my own kids. I had a commute back and forth from Brooklyn to the city, which was about 35 to 40 minutes on any given day. And so I didn't have extra time. And so I really needed to think of how am I going to do this? How am I going to engage with families that's going to take me 5 minutes or less per day and develop these real connections and these real relationships. And that's how I created the parent partnership blueprint. And that entire system, the entire breakdown with text message templates and phone call scripts and email response templates and all of those things, all of that is available inside of Leadership HQ. And I created multiple versions of that. Obviously, the first version I created in 2010 when I was a teacher inside of the classroom. We're in 2025. This is 15 years later. Refined that system multiple times through battle testing it through multiple other schools across the country. And I'm really proud of the system that we help our clients plug and play into, because the parent partnership blueprint, when you understand how to really partner with families and follow a specific blueprint, your teachers are going to stop struggling on basic systems. We worry so much about like, oh, but it's just the teacher in the room, but it's just the dad in the room. Yes, a teacher's personality, their disposition, who they are as people, 100% impacts the culture of the classroom. And at the same time, you want to create cohesion across all of your classrooms, irrelevant of who's running that classroom. Your school needs solid systems in what gets implemented at the classroom level. This is why I obsess and talk so much about the 4 levels of work in each gear: the strategic level, the implementation level, the support level, the classroom level. We need systems at every single level to actually execute on so that the teachers are not constantly trying to figure out, okay, what do I do now? Okay, what do I do now? Okay, what do I do now? Such an important part of understanding how to engage with families. So another thing that I did when I was a teacher back in 2010 is I created a Parents Got Talent program. And the Parents Got Talent program was every month, families were invited to share either skills or culture or knowledge with the children in the class. And the key component to that is that I did not wait for parents to volunteer. I had a system for learning about every single family's unique strengths and actively inviting them to participate, right? Remember, I worked in New York City. Every single family is a dual income home. Every single child there, both parents were working full time. Full time means like not like 9 to 2, like full time, like 7 a.m. to like 9 p.m., like crazy full time hours. Big professionals, whether they were working in the financial district or they were working in construction or they were working in health or wellness or politics or hedge funds or whatever it is, like really, really high professionals playing at the elite level of their game. And so this wasn't about like, oh, whatever, they just have extra time so they can come in and do. No, there was such a specific intentional way of how I approached working with the families in our classroom because I understood the demographic. I understood the type of parents that we were connecting with, what they valued, what was important to them, what their constraints were, what their fears were, what was important to them when it came to their kids. And this is all part of like understanding the family avatars, the parent avatars, how to do family mapping. All of these things are part of the parent engagement gear. And the reason why I talk about this so much, and why I'm dedicating a whole episode to this is because we have to stop looking at parents as like, oh, they're part of the enrollment process, right? Like we need to get their kids in the door or whatever it is. Parent engagement, right? Actually understanding how to truly connect and engage with families is a skill. It is a system, it is a journey, and it is something that you're consistently working on. And while some of you might feel like, oh, but I'm just like better at connection or I'm better at relationships. And, my directors are socially awkward and they couldn't do these things. Or, this teacher is socially awkward or she has a hard time with public speaking. And we basically just give a million excuses of why all these different people in our center cannot be involved in parent engagement. And I call bullshit. It is not true. Learning how to create connection with people is a skill that is teachable, that is trainable, that is 100% learnable to the person who has the desire to learn. And when someone says, it's not my talent, it's not my forte, I'm uncomfortable, I feel awkward, I get tense, I start sweating, or whatever it is, okay, that's your current reality. Let me help you and let me train you through one-on-ones, through role modeling, through skill development workshops, which is all in the staff culture gear. I will teach you how to get better at this because part of being a teacher of excellence is understanding how to lead in the parent engagement gear. You don't get to come be a teacher in an early childhood setting or in a K through 12 setting and say, I don't really engage with the families. I'm really good with the kids, but parents really make me nervous. Okay, so what you're communicating is your strength. I'm really good with the kids. And you're also communicating your leadership gap. I really get uncomfortable around families. Great. Now I know what to coach towards, right? I don't need to necessarily provide a ton of coaching for you when it comes to the children and the curriculum and developmentally appropriate practice, but I do need to provide training and coaching and mentoring on how to not get sweaty palms and say stupid stuff in front of families and how to actually just stop talking when you're speaking in front of a family, or how to stand appropriately in front of a family, how to communicate appropriately in front of a family, how to sit, how to stand, what to do with your hands, what to do with your face, what does your face look like, what are you doing with your legs? These are all things that are teachable and trainable. And, even for someone like myself, and I love connection and I love relationships, I am always studying how to get better at relationships, at communication, at confidence, at building charisma, at knowing how to work through a room at a networking event, because it's a skill that I want to constantly develop. And so while I love relationships and I love connection, there is some really amazing skills that if you learn them, you become a force in the room. You become a beacon of light that everyone gets attracted to. And it's not this magical thing that someone's born with. It's something that they work on slowly over time, that they cultivate because it's something that they're going in the pursuit of. And parent engagement is such an important gear inside of your center. And it's really important to pause and ask yourself, like, am I dedicating the time, the skill that is needed for me to become an incredible parent connector and engager, right? You might be amazing at the financials, at the marketing, at the strategic growth. Great. So that could go into maintenance mode. Now go learn and go dedicate time to becoming amazing at the parent engagement gear, right? Learning how to cultivate these relationships. So let's bring this all together, right? Whether you're working at the strategic level, or your communication systems, or the implementation level, or the support level, or the classroom level, whatever it is, it's about one big thing: building systems that work together to create true family partnerships, real family partnerships. Because when one of your parents come to you, and this happened with one of our clients, and says, I felt like I was always getting updates about my child, but now I actually feel like I'm part of my child's story. That is the difference between just having communication and actually creating a parent engagement system. So if you want to learn all these strategies and understand how to really slowly and systematically bring this inside of your center, I want you to go to schoolsofexcellence.com/5gears, download a diagnostic so you can see your score in parent engagement. It will actually help you identify exactly where you need to focus your energy and your resources so that you can understand, like, is parent engagement something we have to work on? And I would also love to invite you inside of our School Leadership HQ. This is where we work hands-on with owners and directors and admin. It's for the entire school. We work with everyone, and we teach you and give you the plug and play systems, from building your communication strategy to creating engagement programs that actually work. All of these things are inside of Leadership HQ. The curriculum, the templates, the systems are all inside of our curriculum portal. And we support you in the implementation, the execution, and the accountability. So I would love for you to check that out. All of those links in the show notes. And next week, we're going to dive into our final gear, the strategic growth gear. Thanks so much for joining me.